M-1 Global presents.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, позвольте представить вашему вниманию резервный бой. M-1 Гран-При 2013 в весовой категории свыше 93 килограммов.
Я тренируюсь в клубе K4 Pro. Подготовка проходила по обычному плану, то есть борьба, ударная техника. У меня будет серьезный соперник. Я надеюсь, что мы покажем красивый бой.
On my preparation, I did in Poland, in the United Gym with my coaches. Everything went well, I'm prepared very good, and I'm coming to fight Dennis.
Марчин, встретимся в ринге.
I don't know exactly at which
I think he was around 110.
110, and Dennis Koмкин was about the same. Huh? No, Koмкin was a little bit heavier. I
He's
think.
a little bit heavier, I
He was
believe.
a little bit heavier. The length, he is 1 meter and 91 centimeters, and that is almost 20 meters taller than Dennis Koмкin. He has a record of 6-0, while Koмкin has a record of 14-10. In this case, you can say that Koмкin has about 4 times as much fights. So this will be very interesting to see how the relatively newcomer Tybura will do against a veteran like Dennis Koмкin.
And for sure, this is another opportunity for Dennis Conkин to show that he can mix it up with the best of the best.
And in this case, it's also a situation where you see a Brazilian brown belt against a Sambo champion.
For sure.
With different styles.
For sure. With Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu being very popular in Poland, many Polish fighters coming in to fight in M1 who have Brazilian belts. They show a lot of really good groundwork in the fight, and we're looking forward to Tybura from this. Tybura at only 6 fights and is a reasonably young fighter at 27 has an opportunity to become the reserve fighter for the M1 heavyweight Grand-Pri. Konkин, very much more experienced, a journeyman of sorts, and still has more wins than losses at 40-10. Is going to be wanting to put Tybura through his paces in this fight, to show them that he really doesn't have a place.
I think that Koмкin will rely on his punching technique. Very strong puncher.
Very strong.
And I didn't see so much ground skills from
Марчин Тыбура.
Very strong puncher, as we saw in his fight against Jeff Monson. He doesn't have the best ground skills. Jeff Monson, of course, making reasonably quick work of him once the takedown took place with the North South show. And here we see Konkин about to make his entrance. The guy looks like a fire hydrant.
He's massive.
As we see, he used to fight in middleweight a number of years ago, so his height, is perfect for that. For a heavyweight, 174 centimeters is quite short, and he is really tough. But most of it is muscle, as opposed to fat.
Some people might be misleaded because he looks a little chubby, but in fact, it's not so much fat.
And we certainly
Look at his
see,
legs. It's like
tree trunks.
Yeah.
And we've certainly seen in the history of the heavyweight division all over the world a number of fighters who have had similar statures who have been amazing. Igor Vovchanchin comes to mind, Fedor Emelianenko comes to mind, Daniel Cormier comes to mind. guys that aren't huge but manage to, beat everyone in their weight divisions and make huge inroads.
To be strong, you don't need to have the body.
Спортсмен в красном углу ринга, чемпион Магадана по
So as we
самбо и
mentioned
дзюдо.
already, this fight is a reserve fight for the M-1 heavyweight Grand-Pri. The first fights of the official, the main Grand-Pri, take place in St. Petersburg at the Ice Arena at the Ice Palace on April the 9th, so a little bit later on this year. And once those guys fight in the quarterfinals and they go through, if any of them cannot make it to the semifinals for whatever reason, the winner of this fight tonight is going to go through. And now we have fighter versus fighter. Koмкин is 28, Tybura is 27, 174 centimeters against 191. Koмкин gives up a lot of height. 116 for Koмкin to 114. Tybura, weight-wise, they're almost the same. And records, of course, we see that Koмкин has a much bigger record: 14 wins, 10 losses. To Tybura's 6 wins and no losses. Russia versus Poland for the reserve M1 heavyweight Grand Prix position.
Also, Tybura won 4 of his 6 fights by TKO, submission.
So this is going to be interesting. I don't believe that this fight is going to go to decision.
We'll see. As usual, I don't like to predict anything.
With heavyweights, we like to see fireworks. Michael Broersen of Holland is, of course, the referee for tonight's fight. The most experienced M1 referee. Great guy to have as the third man in the ring. And the fight begins. And we see Tybura is much bigger. It'll be interesting to see, if Dennis Koмкин takes the strategy that he took with Denis Smolderev when they fought a number of months ago in 2012. Denis Smolderev, of course, being a striker and being similar in height, probably a little bit taller than Tybura. But do you think that Koмкин is going to take the same strategy against Tybura as he did against Smolderev and try and close the distance, try and wing overhand rights?
He has to do that, because otherwise he stands no chance. If he's working on a distance, Tybura will outpunch him.
And Tybura currently looks to continue to clinch with Koмкin and looks to be very interested in putting...
He wants to land the knees, huh?
He looks like he wants no part of Koмкin on the feet, as his hands clasped behind Koмкin in the clinch, and is just landing knees to the legs of Koмкin. And manages to drag him down. Tybura working in side mount with Koмкin on the bottom. And those arms are very strong.
And short.
That is a difficult task. And Tybura doesn't seem to be working for ground and pound from the top. Seems to be interested in finishing this fight with a submission, much like the fight that we saw previously, Weichel against Demkowski, as opposed to the fight that we saw just before that, Juraev against Albus. And now we see Tybura doing a little bit more.
Tybura's taking advantage at
Ground
this
and
moment.
pound, for sure. Koмкin is not the most graceful heavyweight. On his back, he looks like he probably would have some difficulty getting up, and obviously with another guy who weighs the same thing sitting on top of him, that looks like a task which is too difficult to achieve.
Is he in full mount already or not yet?
I think it's half guard. I think Tybura has just got Koмкin in half guard.
Yeah.
He's limiting Koмкins, and he's in mount. He's now in full mount, and Koмкin, all he can do is defend. And for sure it looks like Tybura is trying for something. And wow, that's pretty... That was close. Koмкin gets it back.
Opposition, turn around, just turn around.
And Michael Broersen
Turns them around.
Facing the center of the ring so that they're further away from the ropes. With Tybura trying for some ground and pound and Dennis Koмкин defending as best he can from this position. But of course it's difficult when you've got a guy who weighs 114 kilos sitting on top of you, throwing his hands, trying his best to put your head through the ring.
And it's interesting, you see that he's trying to submit him, but he's also grounding and pounding whenever he can.
At the same time. It's a good tactic. And Tybura, he looks like he's trying to prevent Koмкин from using his right arm. Koмкин gets it back. And Tybura is now just working from the top. Koмкин's head is very red. It looks like he's trying very hard to defend himself, possibly trying something else, but
it's all Tybura at the moment.
A guy that size sitting on top of you, there isn't a whole lot you can do really.
Only thing I can say is I respect, a lot of respect for Dennis Koмкин for taking so much punishment.
Sure. As he finally begins to turn, to give his back, which Tybura doesn't take, turns him back over and continues with punishment from the top. Looks for an arm and Koмкин manages to get his arm out, but now he's in crucifix, although Tybura isn't really using that to his advantage. And continues with relentless ground and pound. As the first round comes to an end, that's
easy to predict. This one is absolutely for Tybura.
All Tybura. 6 fights to 24 fights, and he's certainly making his mark on the reserve M-1 heavyweight Grand-Pri fight tonight.
Głęboki wdech, przytrzymaj i wydech. 2 głęboki wdech.
See highlights of this first round, and unfortunately most of the highlights are going to look like this for Dennis Koмкин, who spent most of the first round on the ground with Tybura sitting on top of him and raining down punishment. Tybura was patient. He didn't try to act too quickly. He tried a number of submission attempts, but none of them were close. Koмкин was defending well, but the ground and pound was relentless. And it looks like there's a doctor in the ring looking at Dennis Koмкin. You know about that.
I think that Koмкin has problems with his knee because he has an old injury. It's well known to the insiders.
I believe so. That sounded like medicinal spray.
And maybe that was one of the problems that he had difficulties to get out.
Perhaps.
On the power in his leg.
Certainly the knee is very difficult if it is injured. And this banner is coming in, and Tybura's fighting. Oh, they must have stopped the fight. The fight has stopped.
They must have stopped it.
And we're just looking for the referee to give the official decision. It must have been something to do with the doctor looking at Dennis Koмкин.
Уважаемые поклонники боевых искусств, поединок остановлен в первом раунде медицинской бригадой из-за невозможности продолжения боя одним из соперников. Решением судей техническим нокаутом победу одержал
TKO win to Marчин Tybura. Dennis Koмкин cannot continue after the first round. We assume there is something wrong with his knee. The doctors looked at it. They said that he cannot continue.
Or maybe he doesn't want to continue.
Or maybe he doesn't want to continue.
He wants to protect his knee.
And Marчин Tybura gets the win. An easy win for him. He spent most of the first round dominating the fight.
It's also possible that Koмкин felt that he would not make it in the second round and that he said, okay, I give up now because my knee hurts or whatever it is. We don't know.
For sure.
We don't know. It's something that will come out a little later. You hear it.
For sure. And now Marчин Tybura becomes the reserve fighter in the M-1 heavyweight Grand-Pri. which is due to start a little bit later on this year on April 9th in St. Petersburg. So, as I mentioned before, the 8 fighters who are in the quarterfinals of the M-1 Heavyweight Gran-Pri, if one of those guys that goes through to the semi-finals, which are to be held in Moscow on the 23rd of May of 2013, if one of those guys, for whatever reason, is unable to fight in the semi-finals, one of those 4 fighters, then Poland's Marчин Tybura, who won tonight,